What's that sound? It's for amusement only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast. Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Tonight I wanted to talk a bit about what's been going on in my pinball world here this weekend. Well, really just today. I had a friend over and showed him the bingo ropes on each of the games, explained how the features and scoring worked, and he spent a good couple hours learning the games, playing the games, and winning on the games, which was pretty gratifying. So hopefully he had a good time, and I hope to have him on to talk about his experiences here at some point, maybe after another bingo session. But during the course of the day, my nightclub developed a problem. Now this nightclub just had new side rails put on, and they are beautiful. My buddy Steve Smith made them for me, and they were installed on Saturday, and I was given the express instruction to let the glue set for 24 hours. So I did that, and today I played it pretty much non-stop. But during the course of the day, it stopped scoring completely. I could hear the search relays chattering, but I never heard the search index lock on. So it's time to bust out the schematic. And the search system on a nightclub is much simpler than it is on a Magic Screen game or one of the later machines like Double Up. There are fewer things in the circuit, so it's a little easier to test. First, I went through and mechanically made sure everything was okay. Made sure the search index coil and the search cams coil were both good. Because when I went through and held down multiple search relays, the search index wouldn't kick on. So I knew that the problem existed somewhere between the search relays and the search index, and the trick was finding it. So, looking at the schematic, the search index coil is located at A12. Following this diagram up, you find that there's a resistor in line. That resistor holds in the power to the search index when the replay cams index, when that other coil pulls in, it releases power to the search index, and that's held in by that resistor. So you just move on up the line, and you can see replay cams index 18A, which is normally open. And I checked and made sure that, yes, in fact, that was open. Aside from that, I cleaned it. No difference. So then I moved up to Control Unit Cam 14. Now it's marked as Control Unit Cam 14 on the schematic. But there are actually 3 different switches which operate in tandem that make up cam number 14. So which one was it? Well, on the schematic it's listed as normally open. And so I just looked in the manual to confirm which one was normally open. And then I adjusted and cleaned, and that didn't do it either. So moving up, we have a branching path. One path goes from the tilt relay, and that was working just fine. So I knew that the power wasn't getting dropped there. Then we have another path, which goes over to the magic squares unit. Now I ruled this out by setting up a winner right in the center of the back glass, and that did not do anything, just as a winner that involved the magic squares units didn't do anything. So I ruled that out, but left that with a question mark. The way those units are set up, it's very similar to a search disk. They're supply power to and from by means of tension wires, and if one of those was dirty, then that would cause this exact problem. But it would be unlikely that multiple would all fail at the same time. And so, again, I just kind of ruled that out in my head, and you keep looking. So we have, off to the right, shutter motor cam 1A. Now 1A is the switch which is lowest on the stack and closest to the motor. I took a look at that, and it's normally closed, and in fact it was. And I went ahead and cleaned it, just in case, tested it, no difference. So we keep going. Replay cams index 18B, normally open. Now this is actually attached to the switch stacks which make up part of that replay cams index coil. So I took a look at all three of those while I was in the area and cleaned and adjusted. Actually, there was no adjustment needed. They were all perfect. So that wasn't it. Another thing I did to troubleshoot somewhere in the middle here, and forgive me, this was a few hours ago now, and I forgot this piece until now, but I mentioned I had tested the coils, but another thing that I did was to manually pull in the replay cams index coil. What this does is, for every position where there is a number on the search index that it can find, it will pull in and pulse that search index. And this allows you to score a replay every time it finds a winner. Now a winner in this case constitutes a single number, and then it will release the search index coil and then move one more position and then pull in again. So it did this over and over, and then it found the big winner. I had set up a 5 in a line, and it scored appropriately once it had latched in. And so that ruled out, quite a few things right in that general area. And then there was a switch, control unit cam 14A. 14A is normally closed, and I took a look at that, and it was in fact closed. And I took a look at the switch, and it appeared to be clean, and I buzzed it out, and everything was good. So I moved on. Then I made it over to selector lock trip relay number 1. Now this will fire automatically at various points during the game depending on your time tree. And what this does is it provides power from the search relays back through the circuit to the search index. So without this tripping, you won't get any kind of action on the replay unit. So there's a normally open switch, and I just made sure that that was in fact open until it tripped. And it was, and I cleaned it. and tested it. Nothing. So then my thought went to the search relays themselves. Now there are 5 of them that allow you to score up to, you guessed it, 5 in a row. And it wasn't any of those. Cleaned, looked, held them all in manually. That should have forced the search index to pull in, and it did not. So then I started to wonder what I had missed. The circuit, as I mentioned, is not super complex. There are several things in between here and there, and the trick is figuring out which of these things is not like the other. So I went back through. I checked selector lock trip relay number 1 again, just to make sure that from a different angle I was not observing it incorrectly. It's all good. So then I went back to control unit cam 14A. Now if you remember, or had eagle ears here, eagles are known for their hearing, right? You might have heard that I didn't clean or adjust the switch. Welp, that was my problem. So I cleaned it and then tried it, and sure enough, everything was perfect. So the lesson here, and this is a lesson which is very good to remember for anybody working on any EM. This is not just a bingo specific issue. For anybody working on an EM, even if your meter says your switch has continuity, it may not be enough for 25 volts, 50 volts to pass through. You got to remember that your continuity check is run with either 3 volts or it's run with 9 volts, neither of which is equivalent to 25 or 50. There's just not the same amount of potential, and therefore the same amount of surface area doesn't have to be exposed or clean in order to transmit the current. So that's your public service announcement for today. Other than that, I've been playing the heck out of Nightclub. I mean, I have really been hitting that machine. So I've ran the meter up a couple hundred replays, and everything's good. I love that game. It's so nice to have it in my collection. So, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody at the York Show. The York Show is October 9th and 10th, 2015, in York, Pennsylvania. And remember, we're going to have the first ever Bingo Row there. This is a major event. And everybody will hopefully be able to make it. Those of you which are geographically close, of course, and can take the time to drive up. I would love to see you there. I'd love to see you playing some bingos. And if you get 4 or 5 in a row on any of the bingos, then you can win one of Jeffrey Lawton's bingo books. And these are autographed copies, autographed by the author. So, very good stuff. I'll also be promoting the podcast, of course. I don't have any shirts because I'm cheap. But I will have business cards there. And these are fantastic cards. And I can't wait to give them out. All right. Well, that's all for tonight. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS-1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at nbaldridge, or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.